Welcome to How We Heard It, the podcast about music, pop culture, movies, and more, with your hosts Wayne Bledsoe and Chuck Campbell.
And welcome to How We Heard It. My name's Wayne Bledsoe, and this is
Chuck Campbell. Wayne, tell me what you think about concerts and reviewing concerts. Let's just cut to the chase.
Jumped right in. Well, you know, it was. I reviewed concerts for about 35 years, something like that, maybe longer, maybe 40. I don't know.
Right.
And we were discussing this. Everybody thinks it's a dream job, and it's great. It's great to be able to cover music and go get paid to go see concerts.
Yep. You get paid to go to concerts? You know, we've both heard that.
Yeah, but then you have to tell everybody, well, imagine going to a concert, taking notes through the entire concert,
Yep.
and having to write an English theme at the end of it and make a B in less than an hour.
Yeah.
And usually 20 to 40 minutes.
Yeah, and you got to remember the set list. I mean, you know, in these early days, we couldn't refer to anything, and we just, like, what we saw and what we took notes on is all we had. That's all you had, and you had to write it right away. So you're not sure, you know, when the good guitar solo was or when someone tripped up or what someone in the audience may have said. You got to be able to hear what people are saying.
Right.
You know, you've got to, if something flies up on the stage, you've got to be able to tell what it was.
And they introduced the band members' names,
you
had back in the before the internet, you had no idea
and it's
how
always,
to spell it.
Yeah, it's always some Polish name. It's 20 letters, and like, well, you know, I guess I'm just not going to name the keyboardist this time. You know, so yeah, and yeah, I had a lot of that kind of newsroom guilt for being a music writer and doing concerts.
I have no guilt.
Well, I mean,
None.
I had people attempting to inflict that on me, I guess, and it was, and I understood it in a way because it's like, you know, these people, some of them are, like we were just talking about, some of them have to interview families of someone who just got murdered or they have to, we've got people who had to go witness an execution.
Right.
So they actually went to see someone put to death, and we just went to a concert. So,
But you know, we always got ragged because, you know, they called us fluff writers.
yeah.
But it's so much harder to write what we wrote than what they wrote.
Yeah.
Because,
there was no formula for what we wrote.
Right.
Really.
They had a formula. Who, what, when, and where. You knew exactly how it was going to have to start. It was easy to pick out the quotes.
Right.
And it was basically, if there was a story, the story was kind of done for you, at least the order of it. And we always had to find something unique, something different to start it with that would grab people's attention. And
I think we had the bigger challenge, like entertainment writers, movie writers too, TV writers, and sports writers also. You know, they were out doing fun things, but they had to make intellectual sense of it and put in context, whereas a lot of news stories are just straight up, you know, you take a police report, you take witness accounts, and there's your story.
Yeah.
But it didn't matter. You know, the news people ruled, and the worst thing about it, though, was I hated doing concert reviews. You know, as much as I liked music, as much as I liked interviewing people and meeting them in person and writing album reviews, I chewed off way too many album reviews, but I could still discover joy in music. But there was so much stress involved in that pressure cooker of doing a concert review between getting your tickets at will call. Half the time they're not there.
Right.
So you show up at the venue and you can't get in and you got to find somebody. And the photographer, you know, they get one song or two songs, and publicists got to where they wanted to have the edit of the pictures we took and as to which one we would use. And we didn't really agree to that.
No.
But, and then just everything, if you have a will call, I always felt guilty if I did take anyone on that will call ticket because they became like an assistant, you know.
Right.
And if the show's running long and your deadline's coming up and the press room is union, you know, so they're all going to go into double overtime or whatever if you're late. You know, so I felt like as a result, we didn't really necessarily get the credit we deserved. And
damn it,
you know, screw them and their hard news. But I just didn't enjoy it. And I was looking back over concerts, I didn't review concerts so much when I came to Knoxville because that was your thing, and I was more than happy to not be doing it anyway. And I've got an ear disorder anyway that makes a problem for me in like really chaotic settings of sound.
And I did get hearing damage from a couple of shows.
Yeah, and that's another thing is like we're not reviewing bands we want a lot of times. It's definitely people we don't want to go see, but you have to go and sit through it.
Sometimes you were sitting at a show you really didn't want to be at when there was a show you really did want to be at that was a smaller show,
at a smaller
going
venue,
on at the same
so
time.
you have to go to the big show.
Yep.
That happened too.
Yep.
But I did several reviews in Florida. And I was looking back over them. I thought, well, I know I saw good shows like Tina Turner and Robert Palmer, of all things.
I like Robert Palmer.
Stevie Nicks, the Moody Blues. Believe it or not, I gave
like
the Moody Blues a good review. Knew almost nothing about them, but some old guys in the newsroom kind of coached me on it beforehand. It was like, well, this is a good show. And I don't know, Heart. There were a lot of shows that I saw were good, but I can't tell you now why any of them were good because the joy of the experience just wasn't there because it was just so much work, And I think what I remember from Tina Turner, I knew it was a good show, but all I remember is that couple sitting next to me having sex.
We both saw that, but it's different shows.
yeah, and like she was sitting on his lap, and they were right next to me, and it just like their rhythm got more and more deliberate, and I was like, oh my god, this is like, how am I supposed to write about this? Or
belongs in the last podcast.
Yes, exactly, yeah. Oh well, sex is going to pop up all the time.
Oh yeah,
here we go again.
So I saw that at the Hank Williams Jr. concert.
Oh, Hank Williams Jr. There was a big fight in the lobby, and that's all I'll remember about his show in Florida was there was some big fight, and they'd never have fights, and they wanted the story on how often do they have fights. What happened? But you saw people having sex.
I saw people having sex with their clothes on, but I do believe they finished at the Hank Williams Jr. show. I mean, it was pretty disgusting.
Well, I mean, I got to respect people having sex to Tina Turner better. I'm sorry, but I don't get
the Hank
that.
Jr. show.
Hank Williams Jr. is like,
oh, I know,
something else altogether.
Performance de-enhancing.
Yeah.
Well, when you're talking about the fight, I got to tell you one of the funnier ones is like I saw Tool and REO Speedwagon in the same week. I've reviewed both of those shows.
Not on the same bill.
Not on the same bill.
Right.
But Tool was at the Coliseum, and Tool were everybody's, they're dark and all this stuff, how it's going to be a crazy, evil crowd, whatever. So I go to Tool, and like everybody is so polite. I mean, part of it is I'm an old guy.
Yeah.
I'm like 40 or something when I review them.
Yeah.
But everybody is so nice. And then I review REO Speedwagon on the World's Fair Park, and it is the drunkest, fightingest, most obnoxious bunch of people in the entire damn world. And it's REO Speedwagon.
All right.
It's like middle of the road, easy to listen
Let's
to.
all hang out and listen to
Well, it was
they were riding the storm
tempers.
out.
Yeah.
I was ready to ride all their asses out. I mean, it was like, but it was so funny because, all these people talking about how, this young music is so dark and horrible and these kids are so horrible. It's like, no, it was my generation. My generation who decided, let's go to REO Speedwagon, get drunk, and go fight with each other.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
Well, I remember the Stevie Nicks show that I saw. It really made me feel bad because she walked out and just kind of like a collective gasp in the theater because she looked older than any recent pictures or videos we'd seen. She looked overweight. And someone said, that's not Stevie Nicks, that's Stevie Nicks' mother. And someone else said grandmother, and everybody kind of laughed. And I just felt like this just sadness and grief because she was up there giving her all on these great songs, and she's a legend. And people are just like, oh, she looks old, It's like, well, you don't look so great. But that's the kind of stuff I came away with was more extraneous to. I don't remember who had a good guitar solo or, when something great happened in the show. I just remember the crowd vibed with it, and it was a good show, and I wrote something in a hurry, and that was the end of it, and I put it behind me.
Well, I can remember a lot of great shows, but,
I remember good shows, but those weren't the ones I was writing about.
Right. Well, I wrote about a lot of them that I love, but, the things you don't forget, like the time that Knoxville nearly killed Bob Dylan. Because he was on stage at the auditorium, and one of the stage lights fell like 10 feet away from him.
Oh, wow.
I mean, here it came down, just crash right beside Dylan. And Dylan just kind of looks over and like looks up at the lights and steps back so he's not under any more lights and keeps going. But I mean, if he was standing, 10 feet to the other side, he'd be dead, or at least be like Curtis Mayfield and would have been, paralyzed from the neck down.
Wow.
But yeah.
Well, that's certainly. Were you reviewing that?
I was reviewing it. Yeah, I put something in.
But you had like 10 minutes to get the background to that and get it in print.
Well, that's the thing that people didn't understand is I would literally, like if I had an arena show, I would have to, as soon as I knew it was the last song or close to the last song, I would take off running down this enormous ramp to get to my car. If it was at the Coliseum, back when the newspaper was downtown, I would run the 2-block distance from the Coliseum to the paper. Uphill.
Yeah.
And, get there and be out of breath. Or the time that at World's Fair Park, when the Steve Miller Band played and this enormous storm came in, and he was playing through the first part of the storm, but the lightning got so bad they had to close it down. But you had to walk back to the paper in the lightning storm,
right,
and then
you can't wait for it to end because then those union pressmen have got the paper going and your review's not in it.
Well, I mean, I don't really think it's necessarily it was the union pressmen.
No, it's not the union's fault. But I'm just saying that.
But
they always felt they were that way with movie reviews too, and not so much with games. But it's like we don't want to hold the paper up for some entertainment story.
But it wasn't the press that was the problem as much as it was the mailers, the department where they put out the papers and
it's a whole process.
The people who delivered the papers didn't want to be late.
Right. Yeah, and they couldn't. I mean, because you got people at Weigel's at 4 a.m. waiting for that paper and it's not there, Yeah. So a lot of weird stresses to have to deal with just to do it,
Well, I have a story for you that when you brought up this subject that this is what we're going to talk about, I have to tell you, when I reviewed an Alan Jackson concert.
Okay.
And this was, I think it may have been Alan Jackson's first, headlining arena show. This was at Thompson Bowling Arena. And I had, I'd met Alan Jackson before, and I think I met him when I went backstage and talked to Randy Travis one time when Alan was opening. So anyway, I mean, we would generally get 2 tickets.
Right.
One for us and one for a guest. And a lot of times, if my wife couldn't go with me or somebody didn't want to go with me, I would have an empty seat.
Right.
So at that concert, I thought, well, heck, I mean, I hate to just have an empty seat there because I had great seats.
I feel a mistake coming up.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
I was less than 10 rows back. And there was a guy who was, trying to buy tickets. And I said, well, I can't sell you a ticket, but I can give you this ticket. So I gave him a ticket. And I was very naive back then.
He sold the tickets.
He maybe sold the ticket.
Or maybe gave it.
Or maybe exchanged it. Because this incredibly drunk woman shows up after the opening act. This incredibly drunk, very slutty-looking woman shows up and sits down beside me, stumbles in. And when the show starts, I mean, she is just 3 sheets to the wind.
Right.
But she gets up on her chair. She stands on her chair.
Oh.
And everybody's looking at me like, get your girlfriend down from the chair. And I'm like, throwing up my hands like that. I don't know this woman. It's not my girlfriend. And then she starts, every quiet part in the song, she starts screaming, you good-looking little son of a bitch, you! And everybody is looking at me. And it's like, I don't know this. I can't do anything about it. And she does it in a quiet moment. And Alan Jackson's on the stage. And he he has that look where I'm going to try to keep going. But who in the holy hell is that? And he's looking, and I mean, I don't know if he recognized me before or not. But I'm hiding my notebook. So it's he can't tell. But through the entire show, she stood on her chair and she screamed. And I kept hoping that her chair would collapse.
Right.
And I was thinking,
she would just pass out.
Well, I thought she was going to have to pass out. But I don't remember her last until the very end of the show. But it went on forever. And it's from there on out, I would very proudly had an empty seat beside me. At a lot of concerts.
Exactly.
Oh man, it's hard. Learning's hard.
Oh, it was tough. It was tough, and everybody was looking at me like, "Don't you control your girlfriend?" It's like, it's not my girlfriend. I gave it to a guy.
I see the rival paper, News Sentinel critic brings slut to concert.
Yeah. I mean, and I think I just had this feeling that it wasn't money that had been exchanged between her and whoever got that ticket.
Well,
I just thought this ticket was worth a sloppy blowjob. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Ever had one of those, Chuck?
All over again. Well, I was going to talk about my first concert, and there was none of that.
No?
But I can just go into this. First concert I remember going to as a fledgling adult.
Right.
And I know I had probably seen live music before that at the fair, at Disney World or whatever.
You were not a reporter at this.
No.
This is your first show.
No, I don't really have much to say about any concerts that I was actually reviewing. So these are just like concert experiences. And this is John Baker, by the way, our engineer.
Hello.
And he keeps us on track.
Very well.
Keeps us organized when we start, sailing off. But it was the B-52s.
Uh-huh. Oh, wow.
And my friends from school, like junior high, high school, we identified with the B-52s because they were smart and weird and funny, and we thought we were too, So they were like a good mascot for our clique.
Right.
And we all loved them. And they had been around a while, but we went to see them. It was the first time I would consciously remember as like someone who's going to be an adult. I was driving, and all that stuff. So it's one of those breaking out of, the trappings of having parents that control every move. And we went, and something about it. Now, I'd gone to a lot of sports games. I went to a lot of football games, a lot of basketball games, like even like the Braves baseball in Atlanta. So I've been to a lot of sports stuff, and music never seemed to have that kind of breadth of reach to it before because, I don't know. I hadn't been in an arena, and going in to see the B-52s, it was a good night, and just to see them, It's like they seemed like aliens, but they were from just down the road in Athens, Georgia. Yeah. So they were like a local group. And Cindy Wilson has such a Southern accent. Mm-hmm. She could be like Aunt Cindy, because they felt like family. And to see them on stage, and to feel, you get this feeling of the other thousands of people in there that you don't know and haven't known, but they have the same love that you have. It's like a game. It's like when you're going to see a team you like play at home, and everybody's just bonded on this one thing, even though you don't know each other. So to feel that in person, and to see them in person, to see Cindy Wilson and Kate Pearson do their harmonies, and Fred Schneider like doing the Master of Ceremonies stuff, and the humor, and just the dancing and all of that. It was a great show to see. It was great to see our heroes with my friends. Yeah. And one thing that happened with it is my friend Robert, and these are days when a teenager just had whatever cash they had on them. There was no Venmo or PayPal or no credit cards or debit cards, or we had what we had. And my friend Robert bought a sweatshirt, like a Mesopotamia sweatshirt, which was their third album. Right. Or I guess it was an EP, but anyway, it was their third release. And it was kind of different, to buy that. And I hadn't even thought about merch or buying merch. And at first I thought, well, that's kind of a waste of money. But every time I saw him wearing that shirt afterward, for years afterward, I would always remember that show. Yeah. And I was always happy to see it and everything, but it always made me feel like I got to remember to buy merch when I'm going to see someone, because I do have weird merch and from shows that just random shows. Yeah. I don't believe in buying all of it. I don't think you need the hat and every pin and sweatshirts and T-shirts and lunch bags and all that garbage, but just something that you could wear. And I was glad that Robert wore the heck out of that.
I was always
shirt.
Too broke for the merch.
Yeah, I guess I just hadn't budgeted for it and hadn't even thought about it and didn't think it would be worthwhile. But seeing it, every week or every other week, it's like, I should have gotten something like that just to have that memory. And I've got like sealed off boxes of concert shirts and travel shirts. Like whenever I go to another country or another part of this country, I always try to buy a shirt or two. And I've got all these things, and it's like I don't wear them, but I don't want to get rid of them. You know, they just have
Yeah.
meaning. So I'm a bit of a hoarder for my T-shirts.
Well,
But
go ahead.
go ahead.
I was just saying, my first concert was 1972, and my grandmother was going. My grandmother, who was cool, she did inhale, but she was going to take me to the Rolling Stones, 1972.
Wow.
Stevie Wonder was the opening act, but
Wow.
she got there, and by the time she got there, the tickets were sold out. There was a picture in the paper of the crowd, lined around the Coliseum to buy them. So she got up there, and she bought us Sonny and Cher tickets.
Okay.
And it was actually a great show.
Sure.
It was fun, and the whole family went.
Oh, cool.
And it was, I think David Brenner was a comedian who opened it. It was David Brenner. And it was a lot of fun. And I mean, I didn't have the same kind of, experience where it's like, oh, these are my people, whatever.
Right.
But it was like, this is really cool. These people I watched on TV all the time. The whole family watched the Sonny and Cher show.
Right.
And they were there. And then, from there on...
And there is something about seeing them live, There's just something about seeing them standing on that stage.
There is, but I mean, I'll tell you, that's one of the things. Is like, I mean, when I saw the next big show I saw probably was Elton John. I saw Elton John and Jethro Tull and a lot of people during the 70s. But you get spoiled. Yeah. And I'm definitely spoiled. I don't want to see anything in an arena anymore. I don't really care who it is. Right. If I want a hall that's got more than 2,000 people, I really am not that interested. Right. I mean, especially, we have the Bijou Theater here in Knoxville seats, I think, 650.
That's the best place to hear music.
It's the best place to hear music.
I saw it. Yeah, I've seen a couple of
It's perfect. Well, we saw
performances there.
I think we saw Amy Mann together.
Yeah, saw Amy Mann there.
Yeah.
I've seen her there.
Yeah.
Probably same show.
Maybe the same show.
Was she giving away Cliff Bars and romance novels from the bus?
Yeah.
It was their last show of the tour.
Yeah, they give away all their stuff at the bus. That was the same show.
Just take everything.
And she had some opener that, and that was the good thing used to be about openers, is sometimes you would see somebody that just absolutely blew you away. And I wish I could remember who it was who opened for her that night. Yeah. Because he was a guy who was a master at doing tape loops, or, taping himself and looping through. And he was great. I can't ever remember his name.
Bought his CD in the lobby.
Yeah.
Because it was like, this guy is amazing. Yeah, I can't remember his name, but I know I have that CD.
Yeah, he was terrific.
Yeah. Just very impromptu kind of a thing. It was building songs.
There are lots of shows like that where I would see an opening act and think, oh, I really want to keep up with these people, and then I'd totally lose them, or they would disappear. Right. One of the best shows I ever saw was the Black Crowes during the Southern Harmony and Musical Companion Tour, and they had the Urban Shake Dancers open, some band out of Atlanta. And I've heard their album, and it's like, it's not that great, but they were terrific in concert.
Well, speaking of great venues and shows, the worst concert I went to, it was the worst concert experience, because you're not going to believe who it was, but then when you hear the whole night that I had, but it was the Sugarcubes in Atlanta, and I had been here a few months. I'd moved up from Florida, and it wasn't for work at all, and I went to Atlanta to see the show by myself, and real proud, big boy, and went down there, and it was somewhere on Peachtree. I don't remember what. It was a club, but it was years ago. I don't know if it was any of the ones that are still open now, if it had a different name then or whatever. But I'd always been a big Sugarcubes fan. That was Bjork, for people who don't know that. It was Bjork's breakthrough band. And got there, and it was like in a big kind of spread out nightclub, and you could stand up and you could kind of just pick your spot and stand, so it was really informal, and I appreciated that. The band came running out, and little Bjork, these Icelandic people are kind of tall people anyway, and she's just a little thing come running out, and all this frenetic energy, and you had, in a way, they're a bit like B-52s in their own right, from Iceland, but see them come out, and the show was really good. They hit all the songs I wanted to see, and there was one thing that happened that was funny, but after they would finish a song, there was a guy in the back who would go, "Free bird, free bird," like they always do. And everybody laughed, and they got confused. And then the next song, more people started saying it, "Free bird." So every time they finished a song, I don't know if everybody in the crowd was really interested in seeing. They didn't know who the Sugarcubes were, but those of us who did, were excited about it. but they kept yelling Freebird. And I just remember Bjork just standing there, like, just wincing of, like, what are they talking about? And they would talk to each other, like, what if our songs is that? You know, what are they? But it was a good show.
Right.
All right. So far, so good. Whoops. Sorry, just knocked something. And then I left and went up Peachtree to my car in the expensive parking lot. And there was like a big commotion in the parking lot. And I thought, oh, this is, you know, uneasy. I'm not happy with this. And I went in, and there were some cars that had been broken into.
Oh, great.
So people were standing around with shattered glass and everything. And then I was going to where my car was. And my car was running and backed out of the parking space and running with its lights on, nobody in it. And I just kind of walked up in a daze, and the cop said, you know, is that your car? And I said, yeah. And he said, well, I assume you didn't give these two men permission to break into and start it with a screwdriver.
Oh, my gosh.
And he pointed to these two guys in the back of the cruiser. And I said, no, you know. And so he said, well, you'll need to be in court on Monday. This was on the weekend. And I had not been at the News Center for more than a couple of months.
Right.
And I was going to have to stay in Atlanta. And so I tried backing the car out, and the horn went off, and it wouldn't turn off. So they let one of the guys out of the handcuffs, and he got in and just disconnected my horn. So my horn never worked again.
Oh, my gosh.
And then when I drove to my little hotel, the car wouldn't turn off. So it was just running, and I had it parked. It was a cheap hotel, one of those where you can just park like right in front of your room. Uh-huh. And I laid there all night listening to my car running out in the parking lot, knowing I couldn't turn it off, and knowing it was just going to run out of gas. And then what am I going to do? Because I'm there by myself. And but then, as it turns out, I called my mom. And as it turns out, my sister, and kind of a fluke, and her future husband were in Atlanta. They'd come down to Atlanta, and he was a mechanic.
So he pulled the coil wire off.
So he came out, and he got it to where you could turn it off, and he brought gas so I could put gas in my car again, and I was able to get my life back together more or less to go to court. And I called the News Sentinel, and nobody knew me. And see, I've been the boss of a lot of people, and you know, sometimes you get those people who just have a damn excuse all the time, constant drama, why they can't be there, why they can't do this, and why this is happening, and all. And it's like, here I am calling people I don't even know and saying, I'm in Atlanta and I have to go to court Monday, you know. And it's like someone stole my car, and I thought, I wonder if they wonder what I'm into and if I'm lying. I don't know if you remember anything about it.
I seem to remember this story a little bit, but not all the details.
Oh, well, I was just like, you know, so embarrassed. And I mean, because I can go years without missing a day. So to just have this big black mark on me right away before even people knew my name. Oh, who's that guy who had to go to court in Atlanta? You know, so I had that to worry about. And I did go to court, and there was another guy whose car had been broken into but not attempted stolen, who was at court, and he saw me, and we sat together. And we sat all day, and they never called the case. And they said, come up if your case hasn't been called. So we went up, and they said, oh, their lawyer asked it for an extension, so you'll have to come back like next Thursday. And I was like, come back? I don't live here. I'm not from here. I can't just come back, you know. And say, well, we can take your statement. And then the other guy was like, I just moved here from Birmingham, and I'm ready to move back, you know. But he said he would keep up with it for me. And as it turned out, with police witnesses and everything, they got off. So with police watching them try to steal my car, they got off. And I ended up having to get another car because that one never really worked again. They'd busted the carriage thing over the steering wheel. But anyway.
And you didn't hold it against Bork in future years.
Well, exactly. that was my caveat. It's like, yeah, this was the worst concert experience, but it wasn't. But I mean, like 10 minutes after the show, I had forgotten all about it, and I was just in my own personal drama then.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, man.
And I did go back to Atlanta with my friend James.
Right.
And we saw Front 242 months later. And it was good. It was a great show. I wasn't planning to get into this, but Front 242 is a Belgian techno band. And it was really cool because there were so many people there by themselves, and I'd never seen that before. And there was this woman, I called her the secretary, who was like in her 40s and had her hair up in a bun and glasses and like a little business suit. And she was just sitting there watching, and this one song came on called Master Hit, which is like an S&M song. And she jumped up, and her whole body was just swirling through through this whole long song, and it was just real cool. And the band was cool. They had like a windmill on the stage, and they had these lights that would cut the lead singer in half, and you would just see his top half moving around.
Oh, wow.
It was a good show, and it redeemed going to Atlanta for a show after. So
I don't have any stories like that, Chuck. I do have
that's my life, Wayne. I mean, that's just like all my stories end up being some horse crap.
You end up in court.
Yeah, there you
end up in
That's
court
it.
or something.
Well, I will tell you, I'll tell on myself, on a review I wrote one time. I mean, I had reviewed Lynryd Skynyrd many, many times.
Right.
And their first comeback show, the first time they reunited after the plane crash and everything, and they had,
new members.
Yeah, they had Johnny Van Zant, in Ronnie Van Zant's place. But I'd seen them, I'd reviewed them several times, and one of our friends at the Sentinel, who was not an editorial, he was, I can tell you later what his name was because I don't want to give him up here.
Right.
But anyway, he asked to go see it with me, and I said, sure. So we go to the arena, and it's like, I've seen Lynryd Skynyrd many, many times, so it's like I pretty much know what their set list is going to be.
Right.
So anyway, he pulls out a joint. And I thought, it's Lynryd Skynyrd. I mean, I've never experienced them high on weed, so
yeah.
Okay.
So that was your first, and with Lynryd Skynyrd?
Well, the first time I smoked weed with Lynryd Skynyrd. I mean,
okay.
First and only time I smoked weed and tried to review a show after.
Okay.
So anyway, I watched the show, and it was pretty good, and it was actually a little better smoking weed with it. It was like, my friend is like, we both had a pretty good time. And then I go back and I review the show, and I think it's gone pretty well. And then on the drive home, I realized I'd written the wrong Van Zant's name down in my review.
Oh no!
Not the dead one, not Ronnie Van Zant.
Okay,
I wrote Donnie instead of Johnny. Donnie, who's the lead singer of 38 Special. And, of course, back in those days, and it happened many, many times, I would be driving home and thinking, oh, hell, I did something wrong. And by then it's too late. It's already printed. And it's,
right.
20 minutes
that's
after.
The worst part. And back then, that's the only place it appeared. We weren't online, so you could just slide in there and fix it online.
No way to fix it. And I thought, I am going to get so many calls tomorrow.
Yeah.
This is going to be miserable. And I went home just sick to my stomach because, like we said, 20 minutes after you turn it in, it's gone.
Right.
There's no way to do it.
No getting it back. No second edition to change it in or anything. You just it goes out. And
I never heard a word.
Toast.
Wow. I mean, I used to have. I would write something that was so innocuous that you'd think nobody would take offense at or whatever, or they'd correct you. I would get letters and emails and stuff on that all the time.
Yeah.
Not a word when I get the wrong Van Zant.
Wow. Maybe they just felt bad for you because that was such a bad mistake.
Maybe. I've made some pretty bad ones. I don't want to
flag that to him. That's devastating.
Oh, people used to love to
But he had
that.
a noun-verb disagreement 3 paragraphs down. I'm going to point that out.
Roast him for that.
Yeah.
Oh, I used to. That was the worst thing. It's like when
I think all old English teachers used to do would be read newspaper articles and write all
to
of
you.
us and constantly tell us about word choice and people are who's, not that. So you don't say the banker that came here. You say the banker who came here.
Yeah, I still that one's one I always notice, and people get that wrong all the time. But I don't say anything. I don't write letters.
No. Yeah.
Yeah, I had some guy call me over a split infinitive one time. Wow. Give me a break.
Yeah, ending a sentence with a preposition.
Oh yeah.
Which is almost impossible sometimes.
Yeah.
So.
But it was constant.
Well, I've got kind of an embarrassing thing, and this is more concert adjacent, but I can talk about this. It's just a weird story, and it's again from that early time transitioning into Knoxville. And I don't know what you thought about this. We didn't know each other that well for the first year or so. So, I was the guy in jail in Atlanta or in whatever. But anyway, so the band New Kids on the Block, they had cycled through Florida when I was there, and I did the stuff and did the thing and reviewed them and all that, and came here. And they're coming through Tennessee. So it's like, oh, my God, I can't go through this again. I mean, they were perfectly fine for what they were. But they were coming. And Bob, our boss, Bob, was asking me, what we can do to get a young audience. How can we monetize this, or how can we get readership for people who aren't reading us? And so I thought, well, what can we do that's not just the normal interview and review? And I found out that looked up and found out that Donnie Wahlberg's birthday was on the day that they were doing their Knoxville show.
Oh, okay.
So I said, well, it's Donnie Wahlberg's birthday. And of course, Donnie Wahlberg's the actor now. He's the older brother of Mark Wahlberg, who used to be Marky Mark, and he was actually in New Kids on the Block for a while. And Bob was like, oh, yeah, let's just do that. So we put a little thing in the paper saying, want to tell Donnie Wahlberg happy birthday. He's going to turn whatever in Knoxville on the day of the show. And it's like, I wasn't really thinking it through of where it goes from there, but okay. And we started getting cards for Donnie Wahlberg. They were just sending them to us. And it's like, okay, I guess we need to get those to him somehow. I don't know how we're going to do that, but... And like somebody, it wasn't Bob, but someone said, well, you could just throw them away and nobody's going to know. And I thought, well, that would be really crappy. Gosh. So I reached out to the tour manager, and I believe it was the same one when I was in Florida. Very nice guy. And I said, we're collecting birthday cards for Donnie. And he said, okay. He said, you can give them to us. I said, okay, I'd love to give them to you. He said, well, you can come on the day of the show, if you want to come down. And we set it up to where I would go down like at lunchtime that day. And by this point, the card, it was like one of those big boxes full of cards. Right. And it was, a pretty robust bunch of cards, to take to Donnie Wahlberg for his birthday. And I decided to, his birthday was August 17th. And I decided, they were down at the Hyatt. I guess they were performing at the Coliseum. Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, I can just walk down there with these. And I had like some more dressy clothes, so like khaki pants and dress shoes and like a long sleeve kind of like light blue shirt or something like that. And you guys know, but probably a lot of people listening have no idea what a swamp this is in August. And it's like people think of East Tennessee and the mountains, but we're in the valley. We aren't in the mountains. Right. And the mountains, when it rains up there, they feed into our rivers and lakes, which are everywhere you turn. So we are a hot valley that's cooking in the summer. And so I'm walking down there. I was like, oh my God, this is too hot. I'm way too hot. This is so hot. And I'm carrying this big box. It's getting heavier and heavier. And I'm just thinking, what am I doing? What am I doing? And I got down there and I went to the office where the guy was going to be. And there sits Donnie Wahlberg. He brought Donnie down. Nice. And then he had one of the other guys, I think it was Jordan Knight. They were Knight brothers, Jonathan and Jordan. It was one of them. I think it was Jordan. And so they were all there waiting for me. And I thought, I don't have a notebook. I don't have any plan to interview them. I don't have a photographer. I'm just trying to get rid of these damn letters, you know. And so I'm standing there. And when I walked in, I'm sure it looked like I'd just been swimming in the Tennessee River and walked right into the office. So I'm standing there with this box, and they're looking at me like, okay, now what? And I'm sitting there thinking, what in the hell am I doing? It's like I've got a bunch of birthday cards. I'm just giving them to this kid I don't know. He wasn't a kid anymore, but so I just said, well, happy birthday. And he said, well, thanks. And he and the other guy, they were both kind of poking through the box. Mm-hmm. And I thought, you know what? Fans would be thrilled to know that his hand may have grazed their card, even if he didn't open it, So I felt better about that. And then it got real cold because I was covered in sweat and they were in this air conditioning. So now I'm freezing and I'm like shivering and everything. And I said, well, what are you going to do for your birthday? And he said, I don't know, do a show. And I thought, oh my God, of course. I mean, he doesn't know anybody in this town. Yeah. It's like, I was just like, it was just a big mistake. And I did get out of there, but I wondered what, when I got back up to the News Sentinel and, once it then melted out and was steaming hot again, everybody's like, how did that go? Did you do a story? Are you doing a story? And it's like, I didn't even think about doing a story. I was just giving them the cards. So that's Concert Adjacent. I did not go to that show. But
I think I had to review that show.
Yeah, you might have had to review it. So, but anyway, that was our.
Did Donnie mention birthday cards?
I don't remember.
Thank you for your birthday cards. No,
I don't remember that.
He was nice enough. The other one, the brother, I think those are the Knight brothers are probably the friendly ones, so they always made sure to have one of those on hand. Yeah. And I don't know what they were expecting. It was never supposed to be anything, but there I was. So,
Well, yeah.
and you get into stuff like that, you know,
Yeah.
when you get into like promotions and trying to do something new that no one ever's done before, and then you don't even know what you're doing. And so,
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, I had to. The thing with me with us boy bands was I had to review all those shows,
yeah,
and I actually had to give them good reviews because they were good at what they did.
They did what? Yeah,
They actually sang.
Yep.
They had good harmonies.
They had good banter. I remember they had one song that was on the verge of knocking Tiffany off #1, and they were, you know, talking to all the mostly girls in the audience and saying, "Please help us get this to #1."
Yeah.
You know, and so yeah, I'm sure it was good entertainment for them, but you know,
Yeah, I
not
hated
anything we needed to see.
it. Would drive me crazy when I would have to give like an artist I really liked a bad review, and
Yeah.
then give artists that I didn't like good reviews.
Right.
Like Barry Manilow. I mean, I'd never listen to Barry Manilow.
Right.
Barry Manilow for what he does is great.
Right. Well, it's always, do they do what they set out to do? That's always the bottom line for me.
And are they good at it? And it's and it's like, you know, I had to give Todd Rundgren, who I love Todd Rundgren, I gave him a lousy review because he was lousy.
Right.
And it's like, damn.
Oh, I saw some shows on spring break in Daytona that they had zero effort put into it. You know, they
Right.
didn't care. And
Yeah.
the fans were drunk, and they didn't care. And it was going on. You know, they would perform for the one live song for MTV, and after that, they were just trying to get out of there as fast as they could. And it's like, I didn't review those shows. Not many of them. I did some spring break shows.
Well, I reviewed so many things that it was just like, I mean, there was a period of time in the 80s, where I think for a couple of months I reviewed 4 shows a week.
Oh, wow.
And it just,
No.
it totally wears you out.
No way. Yeah,
Yeah.
nothing's going to sound good after a while because it's just such a hassle.
Yeah, and you just get, okay, I got to write another one of these.
Right. Right.
But you know, what was interesting is like people that I'd wanted to see for years would show up like out of the blue. Mm-hmm. There's a singer-songwriter I love named Mickey Newberry who only had like one hit of his own, which was American Trilogy, which, you know, which Elvis covered, and, you know, that became a big deal. But he wrote tons of songs for Jerry Lee Lewis, and I mean, he wrote Just Dropped In to See What Condition My Condition Was In.
Okay.
And he announced a show at the Laurel Theater, like, as he was coming through, like a week before the show.
Right.
And I stayed really late, like until 10 o'clock one night, to get an interview with him after he, you know, got done with something else, and got a story in that Sunday. And it was like, you know, the next week, and like there's 20 people or something to show up.
Right.
I mean, hardly anybody.
Right.
And I go up and talk to him, you know, at the break, and he goes, "Well, I guess you're the man I need to thank. Everybody here said that the only reason they knew about it was because of your story." It was like, well, that feels good anyway.
Public
even though
service, yeah.
only 20
Yeah.
people of them, you know, 20
Yeah.
people show up. But some people had come from like Kentucky.
Yeah. Okay.
But, you know, those shows were always really, even though you wanted more people there and you wanted them to do better, it felt good that they knew that you tried to get people to
Right.
their show.
I had to do some seat of their pants shows.
Yeah.
And, one of them, I can probably save this for another time because there's something else I want to address here. But was a Bengals show that was like at the last minute, and it's pretty interesting little story and fun for me. But I want to talk about Madonna because
Okay. This is a Madonna concert?
Stop trying to talk. Yes, Madonna,
Okay, all right.
Madonna in concert. Yeah, I'm going back to the theme again, and I saw her. It wasn't really for work, but I saw her Virgin tour in Orlando, and she had the Beastie Boys were opening for. I had tickets that were like in this row that didn't exist when I got there. And
Same
but the
thing with
good
the
thing
Rolling
about
Stones
that,
for me.
yeah, the good thing about that is I was like upgraded. I got like a first class upgrade and ended up on like the second or third row. So right up, you know, looking up her nose and all that stuff. So that was cool. But the Beastie Boys came out and they weren't really well known. And I'm telling you, the Madonna audience at that time was no fan of the Beastie Boys.
I can see that.
So it was tragic. And so you had all these, girls with the rags in their hair and all that stuff just booing and booing. And the Beastie Boys were like flipping them off and just pacing back. And, their only prop was like a microphone. It was a pretty small auditorium. It was Madonna's first big tour. And what reminded me of this is a couple of months ago, I saw a meme and it had like the Beastie Boys and I think Madonna was there with them. Old picture, when they were all young. And it's talked about the Beastie Boys in either Portland, Oregon or Seattle and how the Madonna fans booed them until they left the stage. And I don't know if they technically booed them off stage or if they just had a short set.
Yeah.
It was a very contentious relationship, between the Madonna fans and the Beastie Boys. But when Madonna came out, it was a scaled back show compared to what she got into later.
Right.
And she just had star quality, and you just knew that she was going to be she just commanded everything, and she gave it her all, and she didn't care who the fans were or anything like that. And you could just sense it. Sometimes you're up there and the performers, or you're there and the performers look kind of nervous or like they're just trying to get through it or whatever. And she was just eating up every minute of it and every inch of the stage. And she wore the wedding dress to do like a virgin and all of that. And then a couple of years, she had that total like big star presence in a smaller venue. And a couple of years later, she did the Who's That Girl tour.
Right.
And she started it in Asia. I think it was in Japan. But her first American date was in Miami, which I was always looking for excuses to go down to Miami when I was living in Florida. Uh-huh. So my friend Robert from Tennessee, the one who bought the Mesopotamia shirt, he flew down from Nashville. He was living there then. And I had some Central Florida friends. And then a South Florida friend who used to live in Central Florida, and she moved to South Florida. So we ganged up, and we all went to this show, and it was at the Orange Bowl. And that was the show that I finally got the sense that a concert could be as big as a football game. Yeah. I'd been in auditoriums and stuff, so it could match a basketball game, which is a little more intimate, and maybe 15,000 people or 20,000 people. Football game, we're talking 100,000 people, and it rained, and it rained out the opening act, and the opening act was I think it was either Scritti Politti or Level 42, one of those bands that you might remember their song, but who cares if they come out on stage, We just wanted her to come out, and the skies cleared, and she came out, and the intro was just like, this is so Madonna, and this is kind of a turning point in how concerts were done in a way, but she was at the top. There was a big staircase ascending from the stage up to a platform that was kind of like sectioned off as a room. And so she was in this room with just a chair. And the song starts with this like a little high kind of electro kind of sounds, and then there's this rumbling electronic bass line, and then they start throwing in this like this backbeat. Like every 2 times the backbeat came in, the room would flash, and she would just be in that room, and she'd be in a pose, and then like a backbeat, and then another backbeat, and she'd be on a different pose and like over the chair, and then when all the rest of the music came out, and then you got a full orchestrated sound, the box that she was in like raised up, and she came dragging the chair down and just was dancing around and running. It was a great time. There were some women in front of us that were on their boyfriend's shoulders, and we were so pissed. They were blocking like the main part of the stage, and we kept yelling at them to get down, and they just look at us and look away. They were all dolled up. Oh, yeah. In Miami, dolled up people. I mean, there's a lot of really, time spent in how you look down there. Yeah. But then other people around us got kind of into it, and we started throwing crap at them. And we had like popcorn and everything. We were getting in their hair because we knew nothing would bother a woman more, with this glamorous than having popcorn in her hair.
There you go.
And we're like, get down. Everybody was throwing stuff, and so they were like, finally they all got down, and we could see, and everybody cheered, and they didn't hold any grudge. But anyway, the Madonna show was great. No cars stolen or anything like that. I'm trying to think if there was anything. It was like really magical, and it was just like. And what I was going to say is that an important thing here with her show is she had backing tracks, so she does a pre-recorded backing track, and the sound people she has a live mic and
Right.
she has a backing track, and they take the sound up and down depending on how much dancing she's doing.
Same thing Janet Jackson does.
Yes, same with Janet Jackson and a lot of them. And that's come to be accepted now because you don't just go to see her sing. And
Right.
a lot of people who gave pushback to that, a lot of boomers and everything, the people they're used to just go out, stand at the mic and sing. So that would be outrageous if they just lip synced.
Yeah.
But if you want to see someone come out and do the can and flips and all this stuff, you can't possibly get live vocals out of that. And they just have sound people back there,
Yeah.
powering it up and powering it down, and it made sense because some people actually come to see her dance even more than sing.
Right.
So you get, and that's still a thing that goes on now. I still see some people saying, I don't know, like Lady Gaga is singing. They're still making it like it's this big criminal offense. It's like, do you see their shows?
Well, I got to tell you though, when I saw ZZ Top do the Eliminator tour, whichever one it was, that's the one where I got hearing damage,
Really?
and they were playing the tapes, and it pissed me off so bad.
Oh, awful. Yeah.
Because they're out there with their fuzzy guitars or whatever, and
Spinning around in a
spinning the
circle.
freaking guitars around. And it's like they're playing the tapes, and I'm losing my fucking hearing because
Wow.
you're playing the tapes.
Wow. Did you ever wear earbuds? to
Yeah,
shows?
I mean,
I did too.
I used earplugs tons of times. I used to go down to, because the pressman would have earplugs, and I would go down and
Right.
get earplugs from the pressman before I'd go to shows. But with this one, I mean, I didn't realize how close I was going to be to the speakers. I was shoving paper, toilet paper in my ears, and nothing could stop it.
Wow.
It was, my ears rang for 2 weeks after
Wow.
that.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and that damage. That was my main problem with my ear came from being on an airplane. But I had specialists in Gainesville who were looking at it and everything, and they just said, "You need to not go to concerts." And I was like, "I'm a music writer." And he said, "Well, you can still do album reviews because you control the volume, but when you don't control the volume," and
Yeah.
he said, "You've got to keep." From being in the center of noise, if
Yeah.
I'm in a room with a party or anything like that, I need to have my back, isolate parts of the room that don't have noise because
Yeah.
I just get real wound up when I'm in there. But the Madonna thing, she this spring she finished up another tour, and she finished it up down in Rio de Janeiro and on Copacabana Beach, and I've been there. And, they made a big deal about it being 1.5 million people at her show. And I thought, there's kind of always 1.5 million people on Copacabana Beach. But much credit to Madonna. But for that tour last fall, I was talking to a couple of my friends who had gone with me to
Right.
one in Miami. And we talked about getting together and going to see it. And she was in Miami and Tampa and Atlanta. So either I could go down to Florida and meet them, or they could come up to Atlanta and meet me. Mm-hmm. And we were really excited about it for about 5 minutes. And then all the stories were coming out where Madonna's like 2 or 3 hours late coming out on stage. And she was real defiant about it. And, and I said, I think she thinks all of her fans are, 18 to 24, and they're not.
Right.
It's like she's thinking that they're going to be out partying all night. And, we're all like middle age or older, middle age at best. And we got to go to work in the morning. We don't have time to sit around for her till 1 in the morning. So we didn't go, but it was a fun idea for about 10 minutes.
Well, I'll tell you, I've been to the biggest shows probably I've been to is the Rolling Stones twice.
Right.
But I will tell you that the biggest surprise, it was the first time I saw him, was seeing Lyle Lovett, because Lyle Lovett has the best command of the stage of anybody I've ever seen. To be so incredibly quiet. In whatever band configuration he is, he's in complete control. And if you've never seen Lyle Lovett, you need to see Lyle Lovett because he's great.
And you need to see Madonna. And then we.
Oh, yeah. Well, I expect they'll tour together at some point.
I'm sure they will. He was into Julia Roberts, so, you know. Maybe.
Kind of brings me to a question that's been forming in my mind listening to you guys talk about
What?
concerts. And that is, there are some bands I can think of that their records, I could take them or leave them. But when you see them live, they're just, that's how you have to see them.
And
Right.
the opposite, too.
And there's the
Right.
opposite, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But, I'm thinking, like, My Morning Jacket. Their albums are fine.
But
But
they're
when
great.
you see them live, man, they're just
Right.
all about power.
Yeah.
And there's just 4 of them. They
It's-
don't have backing tapes or anything. And it's just 4 big, hairy
It's-
dudes just
yeah, it's-
banging it out.
Yep.
It's stage charisma, and it's like watching a game in live or watching it on TV, and
Yeah.
sometimes like if the team you like is playing a cupcake. It's like, I don't want to go there and put up with all that and watch, it's not going to be a good game, and I can just watch it on TV and turn it off when it gets boring. But then there's the unknown of when teams are just like a real high-scoring basketball team or something like that. You want to be there and you want to see it happen.
Yeah.
And, anyway, it's just a parallel. But, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah,
There's some people that...
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, just what you said,
Well, I can think of like Newgrass Revival. They never got it on album, so that it would sound as it was like seeing Dizzy Gillespie and Charlie Parker play together at the same time when you saw Newgrass Revival live, and their albums were like, they're pretty good, they're all right. They were had two others in my head and they just went out, but Tommy Emmanuel, Chet Atkins, people like that. Chet Atkins' albums were usually kind of boring. He was great in concert.
That was one of my first concerts.
Was it?
My grandmother was on the board of directors for the Knoxville Symphony, and Chad Atkins played with the symphony, and he played some country stuff, and then they played Bolero. I remember that, and my grandmother had to explain that to me as like an 11-year-old boy. Well, it's about when you like a girl, and
sounds like my grandmother, except she would have been a little more explicit.
But did you see the movie 10?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Having Bolero was like key to that. Well, what about jam bands? Do either of you care about them, or because their albums? It's like I don't even know why they make them, but
Yeah.
There's a utility to some of that music, but I don't think it's like sitting down and listening to it and reading the cover liner notes. I think it's great background music if you're having conversation with your friends.
Right.
At Bonnaroo, which I've attended numerous times, Leslie and I were just talking about this the other night. Usually in the first 10 or so years of it, they had a big jam band on Sunday night, which was the last night.
Right.
And Leslie and I were never really into jam bands, but it's such an exhausting weekend that we'd have an RV and we would take a shower and be clean for the first time, and then sit and open up all the windows to the RV and just listen to Widespread Panic while we played cards. And it was just such a happy time because you could hear music going on, but you didn't have to be sweaty and nasty and surrounded by. So anyway,
the only jam bands, and of course the Allman Brothers never wanted to be referred to as a jam band, but they're kind of like the daddy of it all. But they were great live. I mean, I like their albums too, but they were tremendous live. And it didn't matter how long they played Jessica or, the Mountain Jam or whatever. It was always great. And the only one that came up as a jam band that I can say that I thought was terrific is Galactic. With Stanton. Stanton Moore, the drummer, was the leader of that. And that jam band was terrific.
What was the name? Galactic.
Galactic.
Okay.
You could make the argument, though, that Traffic was the original jam band.
Well, yeah, you could, actually.
Because that was about the same time as when the Allman Brothers came up.
But I never saw, I saw Winwood live. Well, actually, I did see the waning days of, just Winwood and...
Dave Mason.
No, not Dave Mason.
Oh, yeah, what's the guy's name?
It'll come to me. But anyway, I saw them together as Traffic, but it wasn't Traffic,
right.
But yeah, I most of the jam bands were, if you were high and you were young, it would probably be great. When you were an old guy trying to review them, it was like, yeah.
When is this going to be over?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and please, the hippie dancing got to me.
Oh, yeah. That's not
South
dancing.
Park had great fun with jam bands.
Did they?
American Dad did, too. He got obsessed with Fish, I think was.
I reviewed Fish here. That is the one time I did give another ticket away, but it was some girl standing outside who looked totally cool, and I knew she'd go off hang with her friends, and I'd never see her again. And that's what happened. And that was great.
Right.
But
you can have this ticket as long as I don't have to see you.
Exactly. And Fish they were okay. They had Colonel Bruce Hampton come out on stage with them, and I knew Colonel Bruce, and Colonel Bruce was great. All he did is he came out and he read the newspaper. He sat in the middle of the band and he read the daily newspaper. We had the Sentinel, and it was hilarious.
Did you read it out loud, or
no? He just sat there and read it.
Wow!
And I'll tell you, on Bruce, I saw Clapton in Philadelphia the same year I saw Bruce and hung out with him at a little club on Cumberland Avenue, and Bruce was way better.
I don't have any trouble believing that.
Yeah. Bruce was, he was
terrific. I remember
terrific.
discovering Colonel Bruce at Planet Earth in the Old City, and just being, it was Jimmy Herring on guitar, and Matt on the mandolin, and Partment Q238 on drums. And,
yeah, that's Jeffrey Syke.
Yeah.
Jeff Syke.
Well, looking to the future, what do you see as like the trends for music? Because, it's hard to People don't sell albums anymore.
And there aren't bands anymore.
Yeah,
I mean,
so it's
you got
like
girls making pop music in their bedroom.
Right.
You can't take that on the road. I mean, I
Right.
guess you can, but
I don't know. I mean, I see a lot of local stuff, and I'm seeing more bands come up now.
Yeah.
I'm seeing young bands. I mean, I book a show on Thursday nights every week, and I'm booked into next February already.
okay.
And I
Well, I know
see
that
it.
country music still has pretty good chunk of concert
Yeah, country.
revenue.
well, what's called country?
Yeah,
Hey,
whatever.
that's
What's called country is
I have no idea because I don't like any of it. So
Well, you never liked it, but I mean, to me, it's like one of the saddest things of all time is watching country music had a renaissance in the '80s, and then after Garth Brooks, and it's not Garth's fault, but after Garth Brooks, it all changed, and it just basically, I think it's terrible. I mean, you have the Jason Isbells and the Chris Stapletons and the people like that,
right,
Who are
right,
on
I
they're on
take
the
it back.
outside.
I do like, I like Outsiders, but I like Casey Musgraves.
yeah,
I like,
and Casey Musgraves is good too.
So there's some that
there's
I
a lot
really
of good,
like.
but they don't want to call it country. It's country
Right.
influenced.
Right.
But I guess they call it. They got to have a label for it. They call it
Right.
Americana,
You're right.
Yeah, well,
and that label gets abused to death too.
Well, I'm so tired of
Every label
yeah,
does.
I know, but I think there's a backlash to everything, and I think there's a coming backlash to music just being kind of programmed and people not listening to albums. I mean, kids started listening to vinyl, and young people told me when I talked to them about it, one of the reasons they like it is because it forces them to listen.
To more songs.
Yeah,
So,
to a whole album side rather than just flicking around from one song to the next.
Right. Well, hopefully,
1 hour.
Yeah.
hopefully that'll influence the integrity of an album, because when you're just making singles that are all
Yeah.
disconnected, although that can be fun, it's like a greatest hits album or something, but you don't get that same integrity of creating a whole package
Yeah,
out of
I agree with
your
that. It's
songs.
like a book of short stories versus a novel.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
right.
like they're both fine, but
Right.
I think
But your novel, it's chapters that are all related, and the short
I
stories
feel
are
like
just
that's
random.
the artist expressing himself.
Right.
And that
Or
to
herself.
me, those are the best albums to me, are the ones where you feel like you've gone on a journey. You know,
Right.
you start it, and by the end of it, you've gone someplace that you didn't plan on going, and sometimes it's great. It's like, my favorite album is the White Album by the Beatles. If I had to pick one album,
The Who?
yeah, but,
Joking.
But when you start that album, I mean, when you get to the end of it, it's like you have gone on a trip.
Right.
There's a little bit of everything on that record, too.
Exactly, it's crazy, but I love it when there's a local band that I'm friends with, Sinru here, and their albums were always that way. They were always very, and you produced one of them,
One of them.
and it was
I didn't produce it. I just recorded it. Don
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 Coffey
Coffey
produced
was
it. That's
listed
right.
as the producer.
Yeah, but
I was a button monkey.
I'm sure you had input, but that's what their albums were like. I mean, you'd put it on, and you get to the end of it and feel like, damn, that was great. I've been someplace. I didn't want to turn it off at any point.
I mean, they do. I mean, artists still try to do that some, and they just do
Yeah.
it, but it still gets boiled down to a single here and there. And
Yeah.
most fans aren't consuming them in the way that they used to, even if the artist intends everything to
Right.
be part of one whole. They just get like sliced out.
Yeah.
Well, I think on a much smaller scale, like Wayne's talking about local bands and stuff. When you don't even really think. If a song I write is never going to be a big hit. I mean,
Right.
it's not going to be a hit. So why not just make what you want to make?
Right.
And I'm not thinking that me or
That's the best way to do it. The more intentional you try to make a hit, the more insincere it comes across.
I think so.
The more it sounds like you're just checking off the boxes,
Yeah.
to have that.
But I think that young people, more than older people, because we've talked about how you have a certain age range where music means so much to you.
You're open to it.
Right.
You're open to all kinds of new things. And when you get your settled life, a lot of people just like music is no longer
it's
an
sonic
option.
wallpaper.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just I want to hear what I know now,
But people still need it. I think people still need it for
Young people still need it.
emotional
that's for sure.
support.
Yeah.
And I mean, I just wish that what they were getting their emotional support for was better than a lot of stuff that they're getting it from.
Right. There's good stuff out there. I will.
Yeah, there
I'll
always
defend
is.
my little Gen Zers out there making excellent music, and it always makes me happy to see.
Yeah.
hear some great song and look them up and they're 18 years old. Like, hell yeah,
And I'm hearing more, locally anyway, more and more of that.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
So we want to give recommendations?
Yeah, well, you want to do music first?
Sure. You go first.
I'm going to go to the Sugarcubes since I just deemed them my and specifically I'm talking about the Sugarcubes 1988 album Life's Too Good. That was their breakthrough debut. Mm-hmm. Bjork, I hope you know who Bjork is.
Everybody
knows
who Bjork is.
Well, you never know, but she's certainly a pioneering woman with all kinds of odd ideas, and it was interesting to hear her in a band context. There was Einer who was the male vocalist, who's kind of a counter vocalist to her. He was a bit like Fred Schneider from the B-52s, but he's a bit more biting and a little abrasive. But their songs, she's like I said, Tasmanian Devil, Whirling Dervish, all that stuff. And this album had good songs. It had Birthday and Sick for Toys and Diaz. That was one that I really liked. My favorite was a song called Delicious Demon. Mm-hmm. And it's like from beginning to end, just like one tirade. And Bjork is like it's maybe a minute and a half long. And it's got lines like, they're being sort of philosophical and sort of weird, but it's like, two men need one money, but one money needs no man, so they're doing all this little pioneering type stuff. And this album also has a Motor Crash, and that one is like a little story, and it's so Bjork, things are just really typically Bjork, and it's Bjork because it's just weird in a way that no one else is. And it's all about, she's riding a bicycle. It's like this jaunty little quick clip song, Motor Crash, and she's talking about she's riding her bicycle and she comes up on this awful motor crash, and it's like two parents and some kids, and they're bloody, and there's a big crowd, and somehow she abducts the mother, we don't know why, and takes her home with her, and like takes care of her bandages and feeds her and gives her milk and biscuits and stuff like that. And then she and the mom get in disguise and they go back to her house, and her husband comes to the door and she introduces herself, and he's like, "Where have you been all this time?" And that's how the song ends. It's like you have no idea what Bjork was thinking and why she ran off with this woman and why they were designing, and this poor man who had no idea what happened to his wife. But it was just really fun. I still, listening to it today, it doesn't sound dated at all. It's just that kind of innovative sound that it's always going to sound fresh because nothing's come along after it to update it.
Yeah.
So and it's more accessible. I know some of Bjork's solo stuff can maybe wear on your nerves, or maybe, some of it's great, but this is like she's at least got the rest of the group reining her in, and they're all a bunch of oddballs too. So the main, like I say, Life's Too Good, the 1988 album. They had a couple of more albums, and then she went solo. But look that one up.
Well, I'm going to recommend an album from 2004 called Lakeville by Amy Correa.
Okay.
And she spells her name Corriea.
Corriea. Okay.
Or, no, EIA.
EIA, yeah, okay, that sounds right.
Corriea. And she just fairly recently re-released this album. I say fairly recently, it could be like a few years ago. I can't remember how long ago it was actually. But it was one of my top albums of the year in 2004.
Okay.
And she is just a really good singer-songwriter. Her style is, it drifts from Americana to more sort of classic pop sounding and a little bit jazzy. And it's kind of all over the place, but it all works. She's got a great voice. She's got great lyrics. And I started listening to it again the other day. It popped up on my flash drive where I've got favorite stuff, and it was like, this album is just terrific. And it's another one that people didn't hear when it came out.
Right.
And she, like I said, she re-released it not too awful long ago, so I hope people pick up on it this time.
Okay.
You got a movie?
I've got a movie. John, do you want to make a musical recommendation?
Well,
Sorry, John.
Mine will serve both masters because it is a movie, but it's about a band.
Okay.
And you reminded me of it by bringing up Bjork because it's an Icelandic band called Sigur Rós.
Yep.
And they have put out a number of really, really atmospheric, dreamy albums. And the singer, Jonsi, Jonsi. He's just got this really high ethereal voice that's just otherworldly. But the thing that really won me over to them was a video they put out, and it was after they had opened up for Radiohead on tour throughout Europe, and they came back home to Iceland, and they filmed live performances in a variety of different spaces in Iceland. Some of them were live concerts in fishing villages. Others they set up with all acoustic instruments just out on the tundra and recorded there. Another one they went down into a cistern, and their song is very echoey.
Oh,
Right.
And there's one song I can't pronounce it. All of their songs are in.
Right.
They converse in a homemade language. They call it Hopelandic.
Oh, wow.
But,
As if Icelandic's not hard enough.
Yeah. But anyway, this one song they set up inside a school gymnasiums, wooden floor, all wood, and they were playing all acoustic instruments. There's a piano, drum set, acoustic guitar, and acoustic bass. And Jonsi's just ethereal high voice, and it's the most beautiful song. And they're showing them playing it, and it's interspersed with scenes of families playing on the black sand beach and with their kids, and kids running around in the black sand and having fun. And there's another scene where they're playing in a fishing village, but they're not showing them playing. The entire video is just scenes of the people's faces watching. You can see the lights on their faces, and a bunch of them are kids, and they're just like, whoa, what is this? And it just is really great. And it's called Heima, Heima is the video.
Okay.
And it's online. You can stream it.
Okay. Cool. Well, movie. So this is the how we saw it for how we heard it. I'm going to go with a movie that you may or may not have heard of from 2020. It's called Greenland. And it was out in 2020, so it was lost in the darkest of the pandemic days when people were afraid to leave their house. And it's an action film. It has Gerard Butler and Marina Baccarin, and it's about this estranged couple in Atlanta, and they have a little boy who has diabetes, I believe, so he has to have insulin. And there is a comet coming toward Earth, and they think it's going to miss Earth, but that it's going to be hit by like bits of comet, and pretty soon it's evident that this could be like a planet-ending disaster because it's very, very more toward Earth. Again, it's called Greenland, and this family has been selected to be one of very few people to be sent to a compound where hopefully they can weather over what happens and keep Earth going. They're like compounds around the world, but they don't know much about it. Their friends, they're getting messages on their phones that their friends aren't getting. So there's all this panic and stress how they have to get to the airport right away, and their friends want to go or give their kids, and they go, and they're just like real intense. And of course they have problems between them because they're kind of an estranged couple anyway. And it's a thrill ride. It's kind of a not super high budget type of thrill ride, but they get separated and separated again. Eventually, all three of them are separated from each other, and they're trying to get somewhere, and there are things that just one obstacle after another, and then the asteroids are coming down and just blacking out parts of Earth, and it's becoming more and more apparent that it's going to be lucky for Earth to even get through this storm, and they're just trying to get, I can tell you they're trying to get to a plane that will take them to Greenland because that's where their compound is. That's not giving too much away. There are also compounds elsewhere, but they're all separated from each other. They can't reach each other. There's a Knoxville plot line in it.
Really?
They're not in the city of Knoxville, but she's trying to get to her father's house up in Lexington, Kentucky, coming from Atlanta, and she's hitchhiking with some people, and they were just going as far as Knoxville, and there's this well, I don't want to give anything away there either, but it's harrowing, and if you like those apocalyptic kind of action type movies, or even if you don't, this one has a little more to it. And again, it came out when people just weren't in the mood for that kind of thing anyway, and everyone was going to the theater, and the last thing you needed was a movie about an apocalypse in the middle of a potential apocalypse. Yeah. So, but it's everywhere. I looked up; it's on Max, HBO, Hulu, Amazon Prime, and I see it pop up like on HBO and stuff. So I know it's still out there, and I usually stop and watch it. Greenland. So.
Oh, I definitely want to watch that. Well, I want to recommend the recent works of the director Sean Baker, who his 3 most recent movies are Tangerine,
Okay.
which was
I've heard of
shot
that.
entirely on an iPhone, and it's about a transgender prostitute who gets out of jail, and she's looking for her pimp to give him a much-deserved ass whooping.
Okay.
And it's a really cool little movie. I mean, his movies are like hardly any budget at all. The more recent one is Red Rocket, which is about a porn star who comes back to his hometown.
I saw that one.
Isn't it
It's,
great?
what's his name?
I can't think of the actor's name either. But,
He was. I can't remember.
Who's the director?
his name's Sean Baker.
I should remember that.
I can't remember the name of the actor, but it's really good. It got substandard reviews, but I think people have a tough time with a movie where the main character that you're following is a total jerk.
Right.
And he is a total jerk.
Right.
But it's a really good movie. It's funny.
It's kind of a movie of jerks too, though.
Oh yeah, everybody in it just about is just
which kind of makes it okay that he's a jerk.
Yeah,
when
well,
everyone else is too.
I think there's one character I was really rooting for in it, but I was rooting for something bad to happen to him.
Simon Rex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's
Simon
really
Rex.
good. But the best of the 3 is The Florida Project, which is my favorite movie of probably the past 20 years.
Oh wow.
Because it is absolutely the only name actor in it is Willem Dafoe, who was nominated for Best Supporting Actor for it, and everything in it should have been nominated. But it is super low budget. It's about people who live in a motel in Orlando, right outside of Disney World.
Right.
And it's from these little kids' perspective. This little main girl, Brooklyn Prince, is the actress's name. And it's a little bit like To Kill a Mockingbird in the fact that you see things from her viewpoint.
I saw it. And I remember the beginning was just kids running around.
Yeah.
It's like, what's happening? And you realize, well, you're seeing what they're seeing. And not,
Right. And it was just, it takes you someplace you haven't been before. It gives you a perspective you haven't had before. And Willem Dafoe is sort of the embodiment of just regular person goodness.
Right.
In this situation.
It's like, are some of the cast, aren't they, they're trying to like keep up the imaginary joy of Disney World, and they're working there, and they're not.
It doesn't.
It's like low income people, like in the shadows of
low income
Disney
and no income, and they're in
and all that.
Yeah, and it's you're just following these kids around,
Right.
And their parents who are, some are trying to better themselves, and the main girl's mother is definitely not.
Right.
You see why the little girl is the way she is.
Right, they're kind of bratty.
Oh yeah, they're bratty little kids, but you love them.
Right.
And the ending is absolutely. I think it's absolutely
I don't
heartbreaking.
remember. I didn't get to the ending. I don't think something happened with that one. I've got it on DVD.
Oh, you got to watch the. I mean, I've shown it to people 3 or 4 times now. My daughter and I went to see it when it was at the theater, and we both came out just thinking, this movie is amazing.
Right.
But you've got to like things that are low budget. It almost feels like a documentary. All these people feel completely real. Her mom, who is so obnoxious, and you just want to slap the shit out of her half the time. Mm-hmm. But you believe her, and you kind of understand why she is the way she is.
Okay.
But that's my recommendation. And like I said, my favorite movie of probably the last 20 years.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay.
High praise.
It is.
I need to drag that DVD back out then. I think I bought it in Florida, and I thought this
really?
would be cool to see, when it's raining outside on the beach and the sun came out or something. It's like, all right, movie, bye. I'm going out on the beach now. And
well, that's the thing.
Got back to it.
I mean, when you start it, you need to invest in it and just say, I'm going to sit in here, and there's like plenty of uncomfortable parts in it.
Yeah.
And very little really happens overall, but you get into just what's going on with these people. And like I said, Willem Dafoe after that movie, I'll watch anything he's in.
Well, he either plays really, really good or really, really evil.
Right.
Well, in this, it's all so subtle, and that's what I like so much about it, is there's nothing that's hitting you over the head. You get to the end of it, but it's devastating.
Okay.
So there you go.
Well, are we done? Is this it?
I think that's it. We've been talking for over an hour.
Oh, wow.
119.
And you know what? I never talked about that Lords of Acid concert. So that
Well,
will have
next
to,
time we're going to talk about
Maybe
Lady
we'll do a
Galore.
random one because that's a different story altogether.
This one you have to tell the story.
But we're way over now, so we're out of here. So thank you very much, and we'll come back at you with something awesome.
You've been listening to How We Heard It with Chuck Campbell and Wayne Bledsoe, a podcast about music, art, culture, movies, whatever they want to talk about. How We Heard It was recorded in Knoxville, Tennessee at the Arbor Studio by John Baker. If you believe you've been abducted by aliens during the listening to this podcast, we take no responsibility for that. How We Heard It is a Tear Owl production, and if you'd like to reach out to Chuck or Wayne, send an email to howweheardit@gmail.com. Come on back next week and we'll have another show for you.